Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood. My name is Olas Carayannis. Reverend Sarah was supposed to be here today, but she has been ill and has no voice. So she's at home resting, and I'll be here leading our service this morning. It's good to be with you. Unitarian Universalism is a religion of covenant. We promise to be with one another with compassion and curiosity, pursuing our best selves and working to create the most just and joyful world we can. We share a belief in our interconnections, in the value of intentional and authentic living, and in love that can transform people and the world. Ours is a religion that asks us to think beyond ourselves, embracing a wide circle of theologies and viewpoints. There is diversity among us. The Unitarian Society of Ridgewood has long been and will be for generations to come, a haven for humanists, a home for the spiritual, an abode for the believer, a refuge for the atheist, a sanctuary for the seeker. Here we support each other on our journeys, lifting up differences, leaning into our commonalities, and learning to love better each and every day. Welcome here to this special place. If you're new, we do hope you will fill out a green sheet if you are in Anderson, or click through and fill out the Google form linked in the chat, which we'll get in there shortly if you're on Zoom. This morning, we will have our normal coffee breakout rooms on Zoom, and in Anderson, there will be a special social justice coffee hour. So as we begin our service, I say again, welcome. Now I ask that you please join in the lighting of the chalice. It will be on the screen. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action, as we gather together in the circle of community. Come, take a breath and listen. We can find stillness here in the presence of others and in the quiet. We can hear the tone ring out, a clarion call to justice, a call to heal this world we share, a call to heed the longings of our earth and to hear all her people. Bring yourself into this moment, to the stillness and quiet. Breathe and listen. When the Unitarians and the Universalists merged in 1961, they did so knowing that among the things they shared was a deep commitment to justice. Theologically, both groups believed in the potential of humanity and focused much more on the here and now than on some future time. Hell, did not strongly figure into their logic or their motivation. Though the grounding was different, and the old joke is that the Unitarians believed people were too good for God to damn, and the Universalists believed that God was too good to damn anyone. Well, this humorous reductionism aside, both groups were indeed committed, though they were, of course, not perfect by any stretch, but they were committed to an idea of a wide-ranging welcome for humanity. After the merger, that commitment only grew. If we are all connected, as the Unitarians stressed, united as one humanity, then what happens to one affects all, and we are bound to help one another. If we are all children of the same God, as the Universalists stressed, then our job is to make each other's lives as close as possible to the heaven God wants for us. We UUs don't share one theology these days, and so each of you finds ways to your own truth. But we do share a foundational belief in that interconnection and in the call to love one another here and now. And out of those shared foundations, we have, since 1961, tried and failed and grown and tried again to move the moral arc of the universe along. It was Theodore Parker who first said the words which were made famous by Martin Luther King Jr. Theodore Parker, the Unitarian minister, said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience, and from what I can see, I am sure it bends towards justice." Over and over again, we are called to widen our circle, to deepen our commitment, to expand our understanding of justice, recommitting ourselves to being on the edge of embracing and loving welcome. Today, we honor the work of this congregation. We recognize how each of us is moved in our own ways, and we relearn what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist committed to justice. So this morning, we will hear from a few folks here at USR who are engaged in justice work. First up, we are going to hear from Marilyn Manning, who serves as the facilitator for the Wider World Circle. The work of the circle is to reach beyond the walls of USR to work for and advocate for social justice causes, to strengthen relationships with other religious and justice organizations, and to connect to the larger world of Unitarian Universalism. Marilyn?
Good morning. As Olas just said, my name is Marilyn Manning, and I am the facilitator of the Wider World Circle. Sorry about that. I keep saying that. The circle, of which the social justice team is a part. And I just want to reiterate, we do have some displays today, petitions to sign, upcoming events, and information about all of our justice work on tables around the room, so please join us. Reverend Sarah asked for a reflection of why I am interested in social justice. And I have to say, those seedlings sprouted back in my flower child days of protests and actions against war and concern for the earth. But now those days seem so simple. And back then, we seemed to have much more faith and hope in humanity and also in the future. Now, when I feel overwhelmed by the world, I think about the joy of justice. Now you might say, wait a second, Marilyn. All we hear from you is about injustice, about refugees, about immigration, about historical injustices that we've participated in or have, not known about. And you're always pushing us to partake in something. That doesn't seem very joyful. So why do I find this passion a joy? For me, the joy is in action. Instead of despair, entropy, and paralysis, taking an action, no matter how small, makes me feel part of something larger. Joy is turning despair upside down. How many millions of people were awakened to the horrors of human suffering and were moved to generosity during the current Ukraine war? How many white people were awakened to really learn about racial justice and white supremacy after the murder of George Floyd? And joy is working together with all of you in our community. Sure, I could be more active in other groups like the Sierra Club, etc. But when I get here at USR is a place to combine activism with a place to reflect, pause, learn, and of course, mingle with all of you. You might call that the spirituality of justice.
I guess I'll invite you to join us in our first hymn. It's number 121, and it's long, so you don't have to stand up.
Among the many commitments we hold to social justice is the commitment to being actively anti-racist. This morning, Mary, who serves on the anti-racist committee, will share a bit. Mary?
Good morning. I'm Mary Mogerly, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the Racial Justice Committee here at USR. The committee is timely with our country at a moment of intense discussion about racism, and specifically systemic racism. The question is no longer, am I a sufficiently good person who is not a racist? But instead, we are uncovering systems and institutions in our country that have allowed racism to thrive. So it's an exciting, sometimes uncomfortable way of studying history and reaching for new practices for the future. We begin each meeting with a question written by a member of our group to address our understanding of racism. As a committee, we researched the proposed 8th principle, which has been adopted by our congregation, and we are in touch with other congregations to learn from each other. Members have attended dialogue circle discussions sponsored by the Summit Interfaith Council, which have just finished another round. These discussions build on weekly readings from historical documents to poetry and are offered at 2 levels on Zoom. We sponsor book discussions, films, most recently a 2-part book discussion of How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith, and co-sponsoring a discussion of the African-American sculptor Edmonia Lewis. We're concerned about voting rights and are participating in a postcard drive with Reclaim Our Vote, which involves writing postcards to people identified as being removed from their state's polling lists. The postcards are nonpartisan encouragements to exercise the right to vote and include information for re-registering. We currently have 29 people writing postcards. I would like to thank Carolyn Musser and Carol Escalso for their leadership, knowledge, and longtime activism in New Jersey and what they bring to the spirit of our group. Like Marilyn, I see coming here as not just a place to learn, but a place to connect with others. And there's so many who offer our congregation knowledge, experience, humor, and encouragement. So for Carolyn and Carol, who see the work that has to be done and step forward to do it, thank you both very much. I would end by saying the Racial Justice Committee is a good entry into questions of intersectional justice, where race combines with gender, environmental concerns, education, among many others. I would welcome all of you to stop by and check us out. Thank you.
Here at USR, we have affirmed in different ways over the years our commitment to anti-racism. It can be easy to forget what we have said and what we have promised. So today we read those together and reaffirm our words and align our actions. So please follow along on your screen. There we go. So the resolution to be an anti-racist congregation, which was adopted May 5 of 2002. Whereas the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood's statement of purpose asserts that we are a caring religious community, welcoming and respecting diversity and working for social justice at home and in the world. And whereas our membership is open without regard to creed, faith, national origin, race, color, gender, sexual orientation, physical challenge, or other similar test. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood, explicitly and publicly affirm our identity as an anti-racist religious community. And whereas we, the members of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood, are guided by the Unitarian Universalist principles which affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person with justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Therefore, we resolve that our anti-racism commitment be reflected in the life and culture of the congregation through our policies, programs, and practices as we continue to learn about racism. We further resolve to develop and work to implement strategies that dismantle racism through our adult religious education, children's religious education, Sunday services, and community outreach and action. So then there's a proposal to hang a Black Lives Matter banner. The motion was passed on April 24th of 2016, and it reads, "The Unitarian Society of Ridgewood is committed to study and actions that will help to undo and redress the systemic racism that exists in America, in our schools, in our justice system, in our culture. This commitment is based on our Unitarian Universalist principles, is in support of the BLM action of immediate witness adopted by the 2015 General Assembly, is in concert with the anti-racism commitment of the Unitarian Universalist Legislative Ministry of New Jersey, and advances the anti-racism commitment this congregation made in 2002. The USR Interim Minister, the Board of Trustees, Social Responsibility Council, Racial Justice Committee, and over 65 members who have signed the BLM petition for a vote on the banner all endorse a hanging of a Black Lives Matter banner on the USR building. We therefore resolve that as members of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood and as a congregation, we are called to formally bear witness and stand as allies with Black Americans in their struggle for justice, equality, and security, and in support, we will hang a Black Lives Matter banner on our building." Finally, a resolution on the 8th principle, which was adopted on June 13, 2021. Whereas racism and its effects, including the deep divisions in our world caused by inequitable and unjust distribution of power and resources, are embedded in all social institutions as well as in ourselves, and will not be eradicated without deliberate engagement in analysis and action, and undertaking personal and institutional commitments to end racism. And whereas the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood has a long history of working toward and supporting anti-racism and racial justice, therefore be it resolved that we carefully examine our own conscious and unconscious racism and the effects that racism has on all our lives, regardless of our color. Further, we must uncover our links and complicity with all types of racial and other oppression, past and present, and act accountably through acknowledgement, apology, repair, and reconciliation. Be it further resolved that we approve the spirit and intent of the proposed 8th principle to accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions, recognizing that the words may be modified as this general principle moves toward adoption by the 2022 General Assembly. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. And Anderson, I had you muted because the feedback was, there you go.
Good morning. I'm Dawn Walter. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees for the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood. One of the promises we make to each other in our shared covenant at USR is to support this congregation with our presence, gifts, and service, and to care for each other and the long-term well-being of the community. This is a time in our service when we put that promise into action by reminding each other that we share a vision of justice and freedom for this world, and that it will take all of our different talents, gifts, and support to make that vision a reality. We also uphold our covenant by our annual and weekly giving. This month, our offering plate goes to the congregation, but we are continuing our Share the Porch initiative. This morning, we have Yvonne Glanville. Is Yvonne here? I'm sorry, I wasn't here to meet you earlier. Yvonne is from the organization CASA, here to tell us about the important work that they do. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. You have been doing a toiletry drive for Bergen CASA. Now, CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocate. In Bergen County, Bergen CASA trains volunteers who become the eyes and the ears of family court judges. Right now, in Bergen County, there are 128 children who are in foster care, and 96 volunteers with Bergen CASA who report to the judge and let the judge know intricate, nuanced details about what is going on in the children's lives, their education, who they're living with. We even interact with the biological parents at times to see if we can help them, so maybe they can reunite. But we write reports and we go to court and we give this nuanced information to the judge so they can make decisions that will help a child who is truly struggling and is probably in the worst position they will ever be in their entire lives. You're helping us with toiletries is amazing. 40 children are going to be aging out of the foster care system. They will be on their own, truly on their own. They really don't have, at this point, contact with family members. A lot of times this is due to, they were removed from their homes due to a combination of mental health, drug addiction, very serious issues within the home that led to abuse and neglect. And many of these kids who are aging out at 21 have been alone for a very long time. And it's a huge financial burden buying toiletries. And we want to thank you for being so generous and helping these people out in this very difficult time. If you have more interest in learning about what CASA does, we have social media. If you'd be willing to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to see what we do on a daily basis to help the families of Bergen County. Thank you so much for your time and your generosity.
Thank you, Yvonne, for being with us today. Such a great organization. And remember, you can drop full-sized, unopened toiletries, any variety, next door on our porch. There's a bin there that's labeled for it, and they'll all go to CASA, who will get them to the right people. Ira, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you tell me your announcement and you want to shout it out in 5 seconds or less?
I don't know about 5 seconds.
Okay.
We have a number of people who have not responded to our annual fund drive. If you're within the sound of my voice on Zoom or in the room, please, now, decide what you're going to give. Contact Ann at the office, contact me this afternoon. Go on Reverend, go on Ridgewood.org, make your pledge now. We need to hear from everyone. If you are financially not able to make a pledge, we need to hear from you. We know that you are still committed to be a member of this congregation, but financially, you are not able to make that commitment right now. We need to hear from everyone.
Thank you, Ira. So in case you didn't hear at home, Ira, as a member of the pledge team, is reminding everyone that the pledge drive is wrapping up. We really need to hear from everyone. Even if you're not able to pledge, we want to hear from everyone and find out their status.
The sooner we can do that, the better. The board is going to be putting together the budget for next year, and we need to understand what our pledge is. So we appreciate you getting that done ASAP. So the offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Another area in which we make commitments as a collective, as a congregation, and as individuals is in the realm of environmental justice. So this morning, we offer you a reflection by the UU minister, Margie Allen. What if each of us decided to love the earth the way we love the person we love or have loved most in all the world? With that depth of affection, admiration, commitment, and concern. With that longing for proximity, for intimacy, for creative interchange. With that quality of connection, interdependence, and loyalty in which any degree of separation is only endurable if temporary, and always temporary because always courageously and compassionately addressed. What if each of us with our beloved earth were bound as partners in life, these two beautiful evolving bodies, to honor the integrity of our relationships with each other and to support each other's well-being to the best of our ability, all our lives, our earths no less than our own, and maybe more. With elegant reciprocity, with just ferocity in our defense of our relationship and of earth against all dangers, with acknowledgement that our circles of connection extend well beyond our own partnership into an inclusive and interconnected network of kinship. And with the understanding that the way we love carries the goodness of the loving beyond us into that magnificent web of all being that is our planet and our universe. What if we looked for signs of distress Earth shows in the same way we would observe with concern a person we love beyond words? As we would rush to a parent who has fallen, assess the damage, find out what happened, and take steps to prevent future falls. As we would notice the flushed face of a child, identify a fever, consult a doctor, administer the needed medication, and create an environment for healing. As we would look for subtle patterns in the behavior of a loved one that portend disequilibrium or disease and ask questions and take action proactively. What if each of us decided to love the earth the way we love the person we love or have loved most in all the world? What if we loved her responsibly, passionately, attentively, wisely, humbly, respectfully, gratefully? What if we loved her so much and supported her so fiercely and tended to her needs so thoroughly and grew to understand her functioning so intimately that we could turn back the clock on the losses she suffered and the wounds she sustained and the filth that's accumulated and the complex systems that have been compromised. What if humanity's love could heal and restore our earth? The USR made a commitment just 3 years ago to be an environmentally conscious congregation, attending to climate change in our actions here in our shared home, in our own lives, and advocating in the world. And I'm going to read that for you now. The Environmental Statement of Conscience, it was adopted June 9, 2019. Because we affirm justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, and because we share the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and because the concept of protecting the environment of the earth links the principles of liberal religion with the values of ecological awareness and racial and class justice, and because we support the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, we recognize that the overwhelming consensus within the scientific community is that global climate change is real, and that the activities of humans are at least partially responsible, and because global climate change seems to be producing an extinction event in nature, and over time could potentially threaten all life on Earth. Now, therefore, we, the congregation of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood, hereby affirm and declare that we support sustaining the climate so the planet Earth will remain habitable. We support and commit to the ongoing greening of USR as steps leading toward our long-term goal of certification of USR as a green sanctuary. We affirm ourselves as a green congregation, signifying our ongoing commitment to environmental justice and to preserving, protecting, and defending the environment for all. So this morning, we offer you a prayer and meditation by Reverend Johnston. I invite you all to be as comfortable as you can. Let the spirit of meditation, of prayer, of reflection, of connection to that yearning inside you for something larger than yourself be your company, moving you to sound or stillness as is your comfort and tradition. Let us slow into this space. Let us slow into this moment. Let us slow into our bodies. Let us find our breath, and let our breath find us. A breath in, however it is your body allows. A breath out, however it is your body allows. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe to connect to self. Breathe to connect to the earth. Breathe to connect to the all that is. This connection may bring pain, for the world is crying out. War, legislated hate, violence, misery, inequity, betrayal. May we remember that our pain is not enemy to our joy, not enemy to our happiness, but pathway through. The only way out is through when the world is on fire, when there is war in foreign lands, waking within us fear or anger or sadness, when someone we care for is struggling, when strangers are treated as less than. That we feel pain is a reminder that there is no separation. That we feel pain is a signal of our interconnection. That we feel pain alerts us to the presence of and our participation in the interdependent web of all of existence. It is the same connection that allows us to feel renewed in surprising ways. When we take in natural beauty or behold art that breaks open our hearts, or create art that moves the hearts of others, when we generate grace for others, even when they don't seem to have earned it. When we generate grace for ourselves, even when we don't seem to have earned it. When we move our bodies, however these bodies move, whatever our shape or size, for all our miracles, it is the same connection that allows us to feel emboldened by the love shown to us by others, affirmed in our worthiness, so that we might pass on that same courage to others in need of our loving witness. It is this same connection that is fuel, fire, and food, propelling us to truth-telling, even when it seems the risks are too high, propelling us to love more boldly, even when it seems the sacrifice too dear, propelling us to show up even when we do not know what it is that we are supposed to do. Having found our breath, let us breathe. Having found our breath, let us breathe. Let our breath breathe us. Breathe in, breathe out. Connecting to self, connecting to the earth, connecting to all that is. Now let there be some moments of shared stillness as our hearts pray the prayers only they know. Blessed be. One area of justice in which USR has been a leader within our wider UU world is reproductive justice. Regina will offer some thoughts, and Anderson, if you can unmute.
Hi, I'm Regina Branca, and I am co-chair of the reproductive justice team here at USR. And I was asked to speak to why I do this work in particular. And although in my years here, as part of that group, I've learned about many factors and learned that it's not rights, but justice that matters. Why I got involved in the first place is because of my story and basically one day. So in 1986, I was a college senior and I became pregnant. That was the easy part. I knew what I was going to do. In a few minutes, I had an appointment at a clinic
and that was that. So that day came, I was eager to get on with it, and as we drove into the parking lot of the clinic, we could barely move the car forward because there was a sea of people marching and yelling and carrying signs. It was dawning on me that I would actually eventually have to get out of the car and fight my way through this crowd. And as it was so surreal, I can remember it very well. Suddenly, a uniformed staff member appeared at the door and helped me get out, put her arm around me to shield me, and waved off this crowd like, don't worry about them, they're just noise. I'll walk with you. Went in, and I was finished. And I realized as we left and got into our car that we'd have to again travel past this crowd of people. And it was actually worse leaving, going through that crowd than earlier, because not 5 minutes ago, when I was still inside, I had such a relief that this crisis in my life was past. Euphoria, maybe, not quite, but relief. And this crowd of people were trying to bully me into feeling shame for that decision that I made, that choice of what to do with my body, that choice to control my destiny. I had no shame. I have no shame. I had no regret at that time. I have no regret. But if my daughter in the future or my future grandchildren or find themselves in that spot someday, I do this work so that they have the same options I did back in 1986. And kids, let me tell you, nothing's changed, because yesterday I was on Engle Street in Englewood at the clinic, and there were lots of yelling protesters with signs trying to shame people. So that's why I'm here. Thanks.
Finally, we Unitarian Universalists have a long-standing commitment to freedom, liberty, equality, justice, and love for the LGBTQ community. Reverend Sarah chose these words from John Chapman, a minister of a United Church of Christ congregation in Connecticut, to share with you this morning. Recently, I ordered 4-foot-tall rainbow bunnies for my church. Just after I hit order, I wondered if we really needed them. Later that day, one of my parishioners sent me a picture taken in front of a local church. On the lawn was an enormous banner with a picture of the Holy Family and the message, God's marriage equals one man plus one woman. Often people ask me why my church constantly hangs banners welcoming folks, particularly the LGBTQ community. They wonder why we're always lugging out our rainbows. This is why. Because you see, every church says everyone is welcome, but many of them make that a conditional welcome. You're welcome, but not your relationship, or who you love, or how you look, or how you think, or how you believe. Most churches don't put up banners like the one I saw, but many aren't far off from sharing the same sentiment. Listen, people can think what they want and believe what they want. I don't have to agree with everyone, and they don't have to agree with me. But as long as there are congregations willing to limit God's welcome, ours will work hard to widen that welcome. As long as there are churchgoers who question the depth of God's love, we will keep hoisting our banners and hauling our doors that proclaim its breath. The truth is that we will fall short, and we do, but we keep trying. Because you see, there are people in the world who wonder if God could really love them, if God could love them despite who they love. And in case that's you, yes, there's no despite about it. God could love you. God does love you. And so does this church. In closing, the world has given Unitarian Universalists cause to work for justice from the moment our two lineages began. The world has always needed healing and fixing, forces of love working to right the course. Perhaps it always will, but the long bend of the moral arc doesn't mean we should be discouraged. It doesn't mean we should stop working. It means we should keep being honest about what remains to be done. But it also means we should keep on celebrating every win, every movement forward. We should celebrate every single opportunity we can because joy and pride and celebration are themselves acts of resistance. Just this week, we witnessed a wonderful landmark in American history as the first Black woman was confirmed to the Supreme Court. And for the first time, 4 women are serving at the same time. What a thing to witness in our lifetime. Not long ago, the first woman stepped into the role of vice president of this nation, and a Black and Asian woman at that. Vice President Harris and Justice Jackson and all their achievements are a cause for rejoicing. The work we do for justice matters. How we vote matters. How we use our money matters. What we focus our attention on, how we build our local communities, and how we advocate in the wider world. All of it matters. And each of us has a role to play. There isn't one right way to do justice or one single cause you must work toward. We need all of us doing all the things, offering each other gratitude and grace as we do them. Thank you all for what you have done. We look forward to sharing what we will do, and together we will keep moving forward.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on walking proudly. Keep on walking proudly. Keep on walking proudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna stop these wars together. Stop these wars together. Stop these wars together. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna work for change together. Work for change together. Work for change together. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna live our dreams together. Live our dreams together. Live our dreams together. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. 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 Never turning back.
And once I get it up, please join us in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish the flame, but may the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action burn bright in our hearts until we are together again. And finally, a short benediction adapted from Judy Chicago via the Velveteen Rabbi Haggadah. And then all that has divided us will merge, and then compassion will be wedded to power, And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then all human beings will be gentle. And then all human beings will be strong. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.